Excellent. All right, we will call the Election Law and Municipal Affairs Committee meeting to order. There is four bills for us to take care of today, if we can. The first one, excuse me, Senate Bill.
Yeah, I was gonna make it as soon as he finishes talking about it.
Whoa. I have a motion from Senator Lang, seconded by Senator Long, to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. We're in executive session. First one on the list is Senate Bill 220. That one that was presented, Senator Abbas asked for it to be referred. I have not heard a word from Senator Abbas, and I would take a motion on the bill.
Move ITL.
We have a motion of ITL by Senator Lang, seconded by, all right, Senator Perkins Quokka. All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it.
Move consent.
And we have a motion for consent. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. And I'll take it out. The next one is Senate Bill 223. We have had some interest from people that are the only section of it they talked really about is using the student IDs for identification. Comments?
Move ITL.
Second.
We have a motion from Senator Lang, Senator Perkins Quokka. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. We have a motion from Senator Lang for consent.
Second.
Do I have a second? Senator Long, so it's L and L. All right, all those in favor of consent say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and I will take that one out too.
Okay.
I'm trying to give you guys a break. All right, so the next two will probably get longer discussions on. So House Bill 340, you have in your emails a draft legislation, and that's, I think it was 3028 when they did that. Yeah. Okay. When they drafted it, on line 24, that paragraph C that was there was the wrong paragraph C that they copied in from a copy of NHMA's recommendations. And what C should have read was organizing or conducting surveys, forums, or events that are expressly or primarily political, okay? And that, changing that and putting in also questionnaires in there is what Senator Murphy wanted to do. And Jessica has that language. So before we make that as a committee amendment, I want to give you an opportunity to discuss it and what you want to do. All right, anybody that wants to discuss? Senator Perkins Quokka.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I would be happy to hear that language again. I don't know that it will.
And HMA, you want to come forward
Change
in
my
case there's
mind,
questions? You can come forward and sit at the table in case there's questions. All right. We had many conversations about this bill, went back and forth. That particular paragraph was in the email that she sent me. So the wording is, and the way it would be amended, I'm going to add in that word questionnaire. Organizing or conducting surveys, questionnaires, forums, or events that are expressly or primarily political. That would be one of the things that's prohibited by the people doing. Now, not to put words in her mouth, and I'm going to let her repeat. She's not 100% in favor of this, but it's a lot better than it was before, a lot better than my first draft, and we're less opposed. I didn't say not opposed, I said less opposed. You want to add to that?
My name is Sarah Burke Cohen. I represent the New Hampshire Municipal Association, for the record. What Senator Gray said is exactly right. The New Hampshire Municipal Association met with Senator Gray to discuss this bill. We support the current language of the law. We believe that is sufficient. However, there is a strong movement by both the Senate and the other chamber, as well as the governor, to make some changes to the statutory language. We have put forward some language that we feel is okay, but it is not language that we will necessarily support, but it was language that we put forward knowing that the train is out of the station, and we want to make sure we protect our members as much as possible, especially the members that are added to the public employees definition, being those appointed by the governing body and legislative body, to ensure that they still are able to give recommendations about budget and warrant articles. I'm happy to answer questions, Senator Perkins-Coca.
Yeah, thank you. That is one of my big questions is, you know, I see that some language was added in here to sort of help clarify commenting on a department budget, for example, in the scope of your official duties, you know, if the school budget's on a warrant article, I guess, you know, I should just state for the record, I think there's absolutely no problem here. I think this is a solution looking for a problem. But secondly, I guess my concern is sort of, you know, yes, we're trying to define this, but how is a public employee supposed to participate as a private citizen in the business of their town? Like, aren't they sort of exposed to potential liability just for sort of being an active citizen? And I guess I'll kind of leave it there, but I don't feel like all of these carve out the fact that, you know, when you're sort of in your official duties, there might be a way to conduct yourself, but you're also allowed to be a person.
I'm not sure exactly what the question was, Senator
Yeah.
Perkins-Coca. I'll say again that NHMA does support the law as written. However, this seems to be moving forward, and in looking at what the governor's veto message was, seems to me that she is also okay with this moving forward to amend the law. When it comes to public employees and sort of that person that gets up, hey, I work for the town, but I also live in the town. I mean, I think that happens all the time. I think that this carve out, you know, certainly looks at protections for those who are the experts, your superintendents, your town managers, your police chiefs, your fire chiefs, to ensure that they can testify on and give recommendations on their budgets. I think when it comes to, you know, going up there as in your own capacity, I think people do that as public employees. Hey, that is their own time. They're not there in their official capacity unless they're saying they're there in their official capacity. I think that works, you know, I think that is how it works currently.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And I guess, you know, just to ask a couple of follow-up questions, if I could, you know, for example, if you're an art teacher and, you know, there's a debate on the school budget and you basically can't go to city council and say, you know, I'm in favor of increasing, I guess that wouldn't strictly be a warrant article. You can't go to town meeting and say, I'm in favor of the school increasing the art budget. I mean, is that you?
I'm not.
let me try to answer that one, okay? Because certainly for a long time during my working career, I was subject to the Hatch Act. And you have to make a distinction between whether you're speaking as a public official or whether you're speaking as a private citizen. So the police chief, if he gets up and talks about the welfare department and he's in uniform, okay, that's probably bad. If he gets up there and talks about the welfare department and he says, I'm here as a private citizen, he's not in uniform, then that's probably allowed. Okay, and so there is some nuance to this, and just as there is nuance to the Hatch Act. So, you know, it needs to be taken in the spirit it is. We tried to both define what's bad and what's good in here, and there will be discussions. Certainly, it's one of the most often cited things year after year after year. Public employees exceeding their authority, and hey, some of those complaints were not well founded because there's provisions in law where, you know, the budget committee can give you a blurb of what the budget items are doing. So again, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I'm trying to do that balance between the two, protect the rights of the employees and the citizens, making sure that there's not undue influence.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a follow-up question, if I may.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So the proposed language is organizing or conducting surveys or questionnaires that are expressly political.
Expressly or primarily political.
Expressly or primarily political. And so that would be prohibited, but
I hate to interrupt, but that's
Yes.
not the language, I don't believe. I have the language as organizing or conducting surveys, questionnaires, forums, or events that expressly advocate for or against any candidate, political party, or warrant article.
Here's her email, and although when I marked it up, I said, put this paragraph in, they picked the wrong C when they did it. And then questionnaire would be added. And Jessica has that communication, so.
okay. Thank you. The language that you just enumerated is slightly more comforting just because there is, although what you stated seems to be in here. So I think there's a little confusion about what the draft is, but you know, I guess the question, if it's expressly advocating for or against any candidate, political party, or warrant article, that's a little clearer because on the other side, you're allowed to engage in strictly neutral voter registration drives or activities limited to general election awareness, announcing election dates or polling locations. So I guess, you know, like, could someone organize a candidate forum where both or all candidates are welcome? How does that fit into this?
If I were to answer that, it's one of those things that the devil is in the details, okay? And whether or not a reasonable person would say, you know, that's political in nature or apolitical in nature, okay? I don't know if you want to.
I think that the pertinent language here is expressly advocate for or against any candidate, political party, or warrant article. The way that I see that written, right, is a forum could be, if we do a forum and you and Senator Lang are miraculously in the same district and running against each other, that the forum could be, you're both invited to the forum, right? Because then it's not expressly advocating for or against either of you, either party or warrant article. So that invitation could be given as long as there's balance. It's again, I think the pertinent language always goes back to expressly advocate for or against, just like the pertinent language in the current statute is specifically designed to influence a vote or a voter. You can do a forum because it's not necessarily, if you're inviting everyone, specifically designed to influence a vote or a voter.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to say, If Senator Gray was the town administrator and was like, hey, we're just going to invite Senator Perkins Quokka to this forum, and Senator Lang's left high and dry, I think that's where it becomes, as a reasonable person, if I'm the reasonable person, the one that we all keep in our back pocket, and I'm that person, I say, wait a minute here, this looks like you, Senator Gray, are expressly advocating for this one candidate.
Yeah, understood. That's helpful because I think the concern I'm trying to get at is that, especially in this age of divisive politics, we certainly don't want to discourage the opportunity for, especially our educators, to provide civic education, to provide opportunities for students to learn, for students to see reasonable disagreements, for, for just like sort of civic education. And so understood that the Hatch Act has always been a principle of how all public employees conduct themselves, even if it is federal law. But I just want to make sure if we are going to do something like this, which again I think is unnecessary, that it's clear what people can do. And so I think even the language that you enumerated, Chair, in terms of the difference between what you're saying and what Sarah's saying is important. Well, anyway, I think I've asked my questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, so before we continue, I will make a motion ought to pass an underlying bill.
Second.
And I will also make the motion that we accept Amendment 3028 as amended by the committee. And
Second.
Jessica, if you would read back what you're going to put in there. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, if I'm clear, again, we're going to be striking on the amendment 3028, lines 24 through 27. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That'll be
and
coming out.
replacing it.
And inserting in that, if you look at the line on the original bill, I think it's as passed bill, as amended by the House, we're going to insert line 17 and 18 with the word questionnaire.
I don't know about that because we'll read the words as it is in the NHMA markup. Yeah. Correct. That is my motion.
Okay, that, Chair, if I may,
Yes,
that's different
ma'am.
language
It's
than.
discussion time again.
Thank you very much. That's different language than what NHMA just proposed.
Go read over Jessica's shoulder.
Mr. Chair, if I may. So I think, Mr. Chair, if I may, I read the same thing, that the language is in there with the exception of the word questionnaire is the same as line 17, but I think what you want to do is change on that say organizing or conducting surveys, questionnaires, forums, or events that are expressly advocates for or against a candidate, political party, or warrant article. I think that's the language that we thought, or at least the conversation was, that the NHMA thought about, rather than using expressly political.
Okay, read back what we're going to replace
Okay,
C with.
so it is replacing,
You have to
not
get,
on this first page.
you got to get to the mic.
Okay, so it's not on the first page. It is organizing or conducting surveys, questionnaires, forums, or events that expressly advocate for or against any candidate, political party, or warrant article. That's what we're putting in.
Okay, I amend my motion to say that.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Well, Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. I'm, really not trying to be difficult here. I do think that it would be helpful to see a clearing amendment. And I understand that no drafting is going to be perfect, but I guess that's my point, is that, we're trying to sort of micromanage people's actions in the real world here. And from my perspective, subjecting them to potential criminal liability for attempting to be a citizen in a reasonable way is in my mind just not something we want to do to our public employees. I think that it has an unquestionable chilling effect on their ability to educate our young people. I think it's incredibly important in this day and age that that everybody be a part of this democracy, and they should do that within the scope of their official duties. But again, I think one action in our great state's history should not be the reason to sort of place further burden on all of our public employees for all time going forward.
Senator Lang.
So again, I recognize, and the reason for bringing this forward is the inherent authority of a person in a position of power, right? And what that inherent authority represents to the citizenry, the elected, the voters, right? And I think what this is trying to do, again, as long as we turn down bills that would actually make these elected positions partisan, so you know where the person was coming from, we say no, we don't want a partisan position on this. So we should be making sure that they're not advocating for a partisan position or anything. And so I think what this bill is trying to do is do that, is say that we recognize you have authority and you're supposed to be a politically neutral arbitrator of facts.
Sure.
And yet without this law, the potential is that you could advocate for political positions or advocate for things that not necessarily is the position of the town or the board or anything else, because you're taking an active. So I think this is, as a moderator for 15 years, I've had plenty of people step up to the microphone and say, I work for so-and-so, but I'm not speaking on that behalf. I'm speaking for. And I would immediately indemnify them against this law. That I'm a private citizen. I'm just speaking at town meetings and otherwise. So and I think this bill does that. It balances that need of recognizing the authority and the inherent advocacy that they can do, at the same time reining that in as well, so it doesn't unjustly impose using that authority to change people's opinions. So I think the bill is splitting hairs, but I think, again, most people already advocate this way when they go in. They already say
agree.
this. And I think this makes it more clear that you have to do that. Just like we can vote on things, but sometimes you have to declare that you have a conflict, but you can still vote on it. So that's all we're asking the local elected officials do, is declare I'm not speaking as a selectman, I'm speaking as whoever. And let them know that that's not an imposition on them, so the voters know that's not, they're not extending their authority into the discussion, they're removing their authority and just speaking as a taxpayer of the town. And I think that's important to make sure that we have that same process in our local level.
If I may, Chair. Thank you. I appreciate your comments, and I agree. But I would also point out that you probably didn't act in a neutral capacity or conduct yourself in a neutral way because you read RSA 65944 and decided how you needed to act. You probably just did that. That said, as other comments have been made, there's clearly intent to move this. Would the committee be open to changing this from a criminal penalty to perhaps a civil penalty or some sort of fine as a consequence, or perhaps even leaving line 22 out entirely so that it's just a statute that's enforced through other cause of action?
What does the current law say? Does anybody know? Come on. I thought that this was consistent with the current law.
I believe the current law does say, I was pulling it up right now, that it does say it is a misdemeanor currently. But doesn't mean it is appropriate. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, for me, one more thing. So
Absolutely.
again, remember, this is an unclassified misdemeanor, and by default will be charged as a B misdemeanor. But give the discretion to a prosecutor later on. If there's multiple offenses, you could charge it as an A as it's defined. So that's when you have an unclassified misdemeanor, it's always a B, which is subject not to, it's a fine, no jail time.
And with that, Senator Long.
Thanks. I'm just wondering, does this prohibit, let's say there's a protest at City Hall or at Town Hall for more arts for the schools, and a fire truck drives by and beeps at that protest. Is that, because reading any other form of communication would, I mean, to me, that's not as clear as why they were beeping. Maybe I saw a buddy of mine, or maybe I'm in support of them, or maybe I'm not in support of them.
And
I-
that
it-
would probably be that person's defense is that,
Okay.
you know, that they're saying it wasn't expressly an indication of their support for the thing, but of support because that's their buddy.
Right. Okay.
Again, it's, you know, that's why we have judges and courts.
Okay, thank you.
All right, first we vote on the committee amendment. All those in favor of the committee amendment say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Yes, I'll
I'm
vote
good with
aye
the
as an
amendment.
improvement,
Yeah.
yeah. Aye.
Okay, so the committee amendment is 5-0. All right, now we're to the bill as amended. All those in favor of the bill as amended, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
And we have a
I would be
Three.
an A also.
3-2. Okay. Again, will take this one out.
I'm assuming consent's off the table.
What did you say?
I'm assuming consent's off the table.
Why, didn't you enjoy my speech this morning? Don't you want to hear it again?
Okay. Our last bill of the day, at least as far as I know,
Mm.
481. And Senator Perkins Croker, why don't you tell us what the difference between 481 as we got it and your 41 amendment 3041S?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. And I suppose I should move ought to pass on HB 481 to introduce the amendment, or would you like me to just speak to my amendment, Chair?
Again, I was going to give you the opportunity, but you have made a motion
I'll second
to
it.
ought to pass.
And I will speak to my amendment and then I will introduce it. So Amendment 3041S is the one in front of you today. It is different from underlying Bill 481 because it changes the effective date from January 1st, 2027 to January 1st, 2028, which you can see on page 5. And then the other change that it makes is that when we were reviewing the hearing report for this bill, the concern that the chairman raised was that we would need to move up the inspector of elections as well. And so my amendment is intended to address the chairman's comment and allow this to move forward. And Senator Long might have comments on the effective date.
All right, why don't you move the amendment?
I will move amendment 3041S.
Second,
Thank you.
I do have one question.
Yep.
So we passed this bill already in the Senate and the House took it and don't remember exactly. I don't think they ITL'd it, but I think they might have retained it. So my question is,
Does
does
the
this bill
Secretary of
align
State
with the
remember?
language the Senate passed before? Do you know? Because we did make a couple changes to that bill.
I remember that. And
If
I don't
somebody's
have an
looking it
answer
up
for
for us.
Maybe someone from the Secretary of State's office knows.
Anyone else from the public that wants to say anything about this?
So I want to speak to this chair real quick. And so again, I support the idea of moving the primary to June. I think it gives voters more time to actually be with the candidates that they're going to be voting for the office. Because, you know, they'll have June to November to be able to dissect the various party candidates that are there. So, and as we all know, and I might be saying the quiet part out loud, your messaging in a primary is different than your messaging in the general election. And this gives the voters the chance to hear that true general election messaging on what you're going to bring to that office and get to that, and gives the voters more chance. So I fully support the idea of moving the primary to June. My only concern is I want to make sure this has all the amendments necessary like we did. We changed it here. Actually, I think the House had failed by one vote, if I remember right. But I think I support this idea fully for that reason.
Aaron isn't smiling yet, so.
Good afternoon, Erin Hennessy, Deputy Secretary of State. The bill, Senate Bill 222, was laid on the table in the House. And there was also a vote to remove it from the table, and that failed.
Okay,
I'm sorry, while you're at, do you have any, are there anything relative to this amendment that you can see in the amendment that would be problematic?
fairness to her, she just got this
Okay,
minutes
I'll
before you
withdraw the
got it.
question.
Senator Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and with respect to the effective date, it's by charter how the city of Manchester votes. So we would need to have an election for the public to vote to allow this. And also, if
I don't see why.
This is all state elections only, not city elections.
yeah, but to change the charter, okay, that's a good
State-
question. That's what I was told by my
Since it's a
clerk. so
state
I-
election, I would think that the state law would supersede any local law
any-
about
that's
the
in the
state
charter.
election.
Okay.
But that's
That
just,
would be fine.
I mean, I might turn to an attorney and ask the question.
Oh, right. I'll have them verify that. to the
My
Secretary of
attorney
State.
hat is off right now.
And also the, I mean, although it wasn't effective in 27, but we already have our 26 budget. If this were to pass for 26, we would have to appropriate more money because there'd be 3 elections instead of 2.
I don't think so.
Well, to June.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
all it does is take the September primary and move it to June. So you haven't added one, you've just,
No, I think he's
Well-
right. If you're not a calendar year budget town, you're gonna be in a prior fiscal year.
Right.
September's in one fiscal year, June is in a different fiscal year.
okay.
True.
I sit corrected. All right. All right, any amendments or anything to what the senator has written? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. And I don't think that one should go on.
You
consent.
gotta move the original bill now as amended.
Yes.
You have to vote on that.
All right. So now the bill as amended, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. And I don't think it should go on consent because it's
I
such
think
a
you're probably right.
wonderful issue that everybody's gonna want to stick to it. And which one of you want to take it out?
I'll let Rebecca, she can, either one, I don't care which.
It was her amendment. We'll
I'll let
do
you
it
take
that
it out. Senator Lang can take it out.
I'll take it up.
way. Okay, Senator Lang will take it out.
There's no Rebecca's gonna be speaking to it, I'm sure.
You guys
Alright.
don't hear enough from me, that's all.
Anyone have anything else? Motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Our business today being complete for the year, really. We are adjourned.